everybody, and happy Wednesday. Happy Beyond 2D Day. It is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. I am Jessica Dugas, and this is my fabulous co host.
I'm Jessica Dugas. No, I'm Farron Dozier.
I know it's Beyond 2D, but I don't know what you might think, but we are not twins. I don't know how that portrays on the screen.
Who cares?
We have been in here we go. The wonderful thing about this show is that this is the third episode in our series of expectations in relationships. Expectations in relationships. And week 1, we talked about the Italians' favorite topic, loyalty.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Okay. Then the other Italian's favorite topic was week 2, respect. Respect
yourself.
It's all about it. All about it. And this week, I don't know if we're going to get to our fourth part. I'm going to be honest with you because today's topic is consideration. What does being considerate really mean in relationships? We all want to feel considered, but are we actually practicing it? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Do we use the word?
No, that's the description.
We're gonna get into it today. So you want to give first thoughts before we get to the textbook definition today?
Yeah. So, again, thank you for the platform and for allowing us to come here and have these discussions that could be our last episodes every week, or every session. Session. I tried to say that last time. You was like, "No, it's not. No, it's not." Now all of a sudden, you want it to be possibly. No, but yes. I really had to take a look at myself and see, like, what does that look like for me being considerate? And I honestly got mixed up in how I look at it. Like, am I being nice, or am I being considerate? And because I have all these other emotional states going on, I discovered that I deal with ambivalence, where it's hard for me to pick something because I don't want to leave that person out, or I don't want to feel bad, and so the battle that I have, my mom calls it the Pisces symbol, 2 fish going in each direction. Yeah. That I do experience that, and so being considerate, sometimes I'm not sure if I even experience that. That's why I say I don't really use that as a description, because I don't even know if I'm actually being considerate when I have so much internal stuff going on. Right. That was tough.
Yeah. And I think for me, I feel very strongly at this specific moment of time that I'm in my personal life, and in my business life too. I think there's a lot of things that this comes into play in that I feel very strongly like we could really use globally a lot more consideration of each other and awareness of how what we do and say and the choices we make affects other people. And I think the conversation about this for me, and why I was like, oh God, this could be the last one, is because it's not something that a lot of people, I think, want to have a conversation about, because a lot of the pushback I've heard is, well, I don't feel like I should have to walk on eggshells. But consideration is not about walking on eggshells. It's kind of like due process. It's like allowing yourself to have a thought, to take that pause between the wonderful ideas that pop into our head about what we should do, say, or how we should behave. And just for a minute going like, if I'm saying I love, care, respect, honor, value, appreciate this other person in my life, then wouldn't you, like, do you want to intentionally hurt people? Because that's the other side of the lack of consideration, is intentionally, when you choose not to consider, you're intentionally doing something that you could have taken a moment to think about. So, but there's a lot of layers to this, and we'll get into it today. We'll get into it today. But for all of you joining us live, I would love for you to share, say hello. Let us know where you're joining from. And also, have you thought about what consideration or being considerate means to you? Do you feel like you are a considerate person? Do you feel like people consider you in relationships? Those are all good questions, and we'll get into that as well. I want to say hi to Joanne joining us from just about an hour north of me or so here in Connecticut. Hey. Good to see you, Joanne. So considerate, that's the topic of the day. The textbook definition of considerate, it's an adjective. It's a describing word. Showing kindly awareness or regard for another's feelings or circumstances, etc. Showing awareness or regard for another's feelings or circumstances. Now, part of this that's beautiful is that it doesn't say anything in here about that niceness that you talked about. It just says kind and nice are two very different things. They're two very different things. Kind and nice are two things. But showing an awareness of what someone else's feelings or circumstances might be. The second definition of this is carefully considered or deliberate. So remember how I said intentional? Intentional, similar word to deliberate. You're being intentional about the energy, the things you say, the things you do, all of that, and how how it comes, because it starts here or here, right? It starts here or here, sometimes a mix of both, and it comes out of you in some kind of way. So it's just an awareness of how that it's a filter between inside and outside.
Can you go back to the first one, please?
Yep.
Showing kindly awareness or regard for another's feelings, circumstances, etc., etc., etc. So when I looked at it for myself, it's like, how do I measure my consideration, right? And I, after I beat myself up about it, it's got to be measured in somebody else's life, not mine. So I guess that's why I can see the regards for another's feelings or circumstances.
Yeah. So it's gotta be both. So you have to take the first part. So like I said, all of these thoughts, feelings, behaviors, everything are inside, right? And so you have a filter that you can process those things through. The other person has a filter on their receiving end. Part of the beauty of relationships and communication is that we both have our own filters. The only filter we don't have control over is the second one.
But my filters are layered in avoiding disappointment, avoiding shame, avoiding embarrassment, the ambivalence, the fear of missing out, am I going to hurt their feelings? Am I going to, like, all of that mixed in with happy and joy and kindness and nice those are all blurred together. And that's why for me, it was like, this is a hard one to discuss, because I have all that as filters. And how do I look at, there's considerate right there. There is a little.
Well, because it goes back to a conversation that you and I have had several times on this show, and you've brought up often about your principles, your morals and your principles that you live by. And I think that consideration, it goes sort of hand in hand with that. And consideration could be a core principle for you, where you're going, okay, before I say these words, even if I know they need to be said. And that's where I talk about when we get into this, like, kind and nice part of it too, because that's another, it's perception. You could think you're being the nicest person in the world and somebody be like, you're an ass, it doesn't matter.
Or people pleaser.
Right. Right. And so you could be like, look, you have this thing inside you, and you could go, it is important to me in order for me to be able to sleep at night and stick to my principles that I'm going to pause for a minute before I say this and ask myself, is this thing that I'm about to say in alignment with who I am as as a person, my principles?
Mm.
Am I going to be able to sleep at night if I say it like this? And I know that it's like if I know that your favorite, and I always talk about in terms of pudding here on the Breakthrough Show Network, okay, because I like pudding. But if you tell me that your favorite pudding in the whole world is chocolate pudding, okay, and I'm gonna have you over for dinner, and what are we having for dessert? We're gonna have pudding, and I go, you know what? I know Farron likes chocolate pudding, but I'm gonna make vanilla pudding. like it's the consideration of like, who is it that I'm having over, who is it that I'm inviting into my world to have a
My
conversation to
goodness.
and it's if you but it's things, it's an awareness we always have room for. Is there something that, like, there's always going to be things we don't know, and that's where we just do the best we can. But if you know something about someone, if you know that someone has had trauma in their life by being screamed at, and you go and scream at them, that is not considerate. If you're saying you love and care for the person, that's where consideration comes in.
So you're saying that consideration also has a part of a level of self-control, because you say
Yes.
pause.
Yep.
You say
Pause.
pause.
And
So
pausing is hard.
that's
Especially when you're fired up.
Well, that's what I'm like. For me to be considerate of someone else, I would have to set myself aside.
Yes.
That's
Pause.
hard.
Pause. And it's very hard. Like, if you're really upset, fired up about something, it is really hard to pause in the moment. Even I go back to I've been doing a lot of this advocacy work here in the state of Connecticut for the homeschool situation that we're dealing with right now. And last summer, I had I'm up at the Capitol building, and I see one of the representatives walk right in front of me, who is responsible for one of these bills, and I was like, this is your moment. This is your moment. And I went up to them, and I hadn't taken time to consider how I was going to say things, in what way I would say things if I came across somebody. And that also created a space where I hadn't really gotten a grip on how I really feel about it yet. I was feeling some kind. So instead of pausing and going, you know what, let me collect my thoughts and let me send them an email or a phone call, I decided to be like, sir, hello, hi, how are you? Let's have. And what ended up happening was, in that moment, I got so emotional. So emotional so fast, because it was a combination of me not really having a grip, and I hadn't really processed it through myself yet.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with getting emotional and crying, but I couldn't form a thought. I was so upset. I was so emotional in the moment. I could not form a thought. And so now, fast forward to a couple weeks ago, when I went back up to the Capitol, I was calm, collected. I could form a sentence, and so it was a very different, because I had taken the time to consider how I felt, how I was processing the information, and how was I going to present it so that I came across in a way that was effective for everybody, as effective as I could be, and still sleep at night.
So if we're going to peel this layer of consideration or being considerate off, it's got to start where you just said.
Yeah.
Over here first.
Yep.
And can I be settled in myself to then, again, allow myself to be set aside, to be considerate in this topic or this conversation or this relationship or this event or this
Right.
date that we're going to go out on or whatever that is. And I could see why relationships are so hard, because that's what it says. You got to be able to give up yourself for somebody else. And if I have all this other stuff going on in my head, like I said, ambivalence was such a big one that I'm still learning how to balance the ambivalence, because I want to go here, but I want to go here, but I really don't want to go over there. But if I don't go there, then how are they going to feel? Like they're going to be disappointed. But if I go with them, then I'm going to be disappointed in myself because I didn't really do what I wanted to do. And it's like, why, man? So I'm like, why bother?
Right. Right. And it can become a place, I feel like, that ambivalence that you're talking about, that can happen when we get to where we're considering ourselves, we're considering the other person, we're considering the moment, we're considering the tone at which we're, there's all of these things that we're considering that can create that sort of freeze moment where we're like, I probably shouldn't say anything at all then. And so that's the part that we have to that's where the personal development comes in, and being okay. For me, my filter, what I process through my filter is, am I going to be able to sleep at night? Is it going to feel good to me? Is it going to clash with my principles, my things that I value in my life, in order for me to say what needs to be said or do what needs to be done? And so obviously then we always have to remember, we could personal development ourselves into oblivion our entire lives. That's part of this journey. But we always have to remember that no matter what we do, we could be like, I consider myself a considerate person. I feel good about what I'm saying and I'm doing. I can sleep at night. You never have a guarantee of how it's going to be received on the other end, because there is that second filter that we talked about. It's got to go through their process now. And as long as you're good with where you're at and how you've treated someone or how you've spoken to someone, if you are good at that moment, then the next part is on the person receiving.
But then that goes back to the conversation that I have with myself is that person, am I being heard? Are you being heard? Right. So I guess for me, the consideration is the label of where we're trying to get to as an end result. But what's the process to get to this point where I've taken what I've have in consideration, I've taken what you have into consideration. Now, am I going with what I consider or what you consider? And I'm weighing everything that you shared with me. Now, you said I got to go through their filter. So then I have to bring up the considerations. I have to bring up the ideas or the plan or whatever that is, allow them to hear it, right? And make sure that they heard what I said and not what they made it mean about them, right? So there's a whole lot of stuff to go through before you can even get to the point where, based off of this situation, I appreciate I heard what you had to say, and I'm going to go this route, regardless of how.
You're talking about two different things. To be considerate, because we talked about the definition that's on the screen here. To be considerate, it's a describing word. It's a way that someone might describe themselves. I'm a considerate person, meaning I take the time to be aware and take regard for someone's feelings or circumstances. Then we talked about, but then there's consideration is a noun. That's something completely different. That is the act of considering, giving careful thought, deliberation, or whatever to something. So being considerate and taking consideration are two different things. So
they don't go together.
They do, well, they can, because they can in that. Okay, I'm trying to think of an example here. So if
because we're trying to get to a consideration, that you have to be considerate to get to the consideration to take the action of what we're going to do. No.
Yes, but here's the thing. So I consider myself to be a considerate person. So I process things, like I said, through my own filter.
Mhm.
Not everything you say to me, I'm not going to take everything you say to me in consideration. As far as, like, if it's something that I know we've had a conversation about and it goes completely against my morals and principles for myself, I'm not going to give it another thought. I'm not going to I mean, I might process it through, like, how our relationship is, but I'm not going to consider it on the level of, like, adopting it, if that makes sense. So I feel like you can be, so Joanne was talking about in the comments.
Okay.
Let's not forget about tone, because people get triggered by that sometimes even more than what you say.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
for me, like, being considerate is like how you're presenting things, whereas consideration is your willingness to process what somebody else has said to you or done to you, or it's the processing of. So it's two things that are connected, but I think that how you're talking about there's two very, like, there's a clear line for me.
Mm.
And the other thing I want to show is the other one, something that is or is to be kept in mind in making a decision. So we talked about choices and decisions last year. And then, so this is my favorite part: thoughtful or sympathetic regard or respect. So there's another word we just played with recently: thoughtfulness for others. It's like, so there's, even in that definition, it's sort of like you can have consideration for and not consider something. I'm trying to figure out how to, like the way that
Where's my
it's
notes?
presented, not necessarily the information, if that makes sense.
Oh my gosh.
Let's look at some synonyms while we're talking, because
Oh,
I love
please,
synonyms.
yes, please, please.
To be accommodating, amiable, attentive,
Yeah,
charitable, circumspect, compassionate, discreet,
mindful,
generous, magnanimous, mindful, polite, salacious,
unselfish. See, unselfish.
sympathetic, thoughtful, unselfish, warm hearted.
There's a lot of layers that I got to peel off to be considerate.
Mm.
That's why I said it's not something that I don't use that as a descriptive.
Okay, so do you think that there's moments when you're considerate?
Well, I
When
did. I
you
had
would,
to ask the people in my life.
well, text somebody right
I
now.
did. No,
Okay.
I did, and they said, yeah.
Okay.
They said I appear to be considerate.
I want to see the text.
They appear to say that I'm considerate.
Okay, I'm going to, do you
But
consider
it's
me to be we're doing this live on air.
it's like I don't I get it, but it's like I don't. For me to be considerate, like I said, there has to be a conversation. There has to be. I gotta deal with myself internally first, in my own internal dialogue, to get to the space where you say I gotta pause, and to get to that space for me to pause, I have to have a conversation with the other person before I could take the pause.
Mm-hmm.
So that then I can
Why?
consider, because then I can consider what their filters or what they're thinking about doing. Because
you might not know ever.
but if we have a conversation, that's the whole point of having communication. Is, hey, this is my plan. This is what I want to do. This is how I feel about doing. I'm taking you in consideration because I don't know if you want to participate and hang out and do this, or I want to go over here by myself, but then I want to come and hang out with you later. Like, I'm talking about relationship stuff. Like, that's where my ambivalence is. I feel like if I don't get to do what I want, I guess you can call that sacrifice. There's a, like I said, there's a lot.
I texted my husband.
Oh God.
And I said, "Do you consider me to be a considerate person?" I texted somebody else too. I'm waiting to hear back. And he said, yes. Why would you ask me that? See, take notes, boys. Take notes.
Take notes, boys. Thank
I
you.
said, I'm talking about it live on the show. He said, and he's typing. So we'll see.
my daughter said, I don't think you're inconsiderate.
And see, I'm very honest.
She said, I care about it. She said, you care about others. And I know if you can help, you will help. See, that's my daughter. She says I'm considerate.
There you go.
She says I'm not inconsiderate. But I feel like I can be inconsiderate, though, because it says unselfish.
You know what? That's a good question, though, because is there a difference? I'm just going to, because I'm trying to form it in my head and I can't get it out how I want. So is there a difference between saying someone, does it feel different to say that someone is inconsiderate versus considerate?
It depends on how that considerate means to them, though. Again, it's not something that I could point to. Oh, there's my considerate. I'm being considerate. Like, there's an experience as what I'm understanding. For me to be considerate, then I have to be that way, and for somebody in my life to measure that and say, "Oh yeah, you're considerate because you asked me to go get a jacket when it's cold before we go hang out." Like, is that considerate, or that's just me? Like, hey, go get a coat. Because
I think it's considerate. Because you don't want them to be cold, so that's considering how they might feel. But there's another part of this. I'm gonna wait for this part until we come back from commercial, because I'm
lost. I got notes though.
I'm gonna wait for that till we come back from the commercial. But I want to go back to this for a minute, because I think to even as I say it about myself, like, I consider myself to be a pretty considerate person. And when I say pretty considerate, I mean that sometimes I'm a human being. And sometimes, and so I think so the reason why I was asking as the label considerate versus inconsiderate is because of this. If I say to you, do you consider me to be a considerate person, and you say yes most of the time, and then, but if, as opposed to saying, do you think I'm inconsiderate, I would be very quick to be like, no, I don't think you're inconsiderate, because that feels worse,
right?
That feels worse to think about, the fact that you could be considered, like, because I think that at the end of the day, that we are a human being, yes, and we can try our best to be thoughtful and think about how our behavior, our words, our actions impact the lives of other people. But we are a human being. And even if we try our hardest, like I said, we're not guaranteed that it's going to be filtered through their filter. Right. So the question comes back to, am I good with how my behavior?
And that's tough. That's my ambivalence.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want to make people mad at me. Like, but I can't control that either. And can I be okay with that? Old Farron, for sure, no. So Farron would do stuff that he didn't want to do. Farron would go places that he didn't want to go, because nobody considered me in their planning. Right? It's like, this is it. But what about how I feel about it? No, I ain't got no say so. So when you experience that kind of life, and then now you got to try to turn around and be considerate, I'm being selfish. You can go and you can stay.
And we're going to talk about that, the flip side of not being considered.
Oh, there is a flip side? Is there a flip side?
The flip side of not being considered. And then also, I have a big question. We're gonna consider that, and you should also consider what's in your jeans, and we'll be right back after this.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man.
There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org.
Welcome back, everybody, to Beyond 2D, WDCONSCT.org.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure. So we're considering many things today here.
No, I don't want to consider anything.
And we were talking about before the break, what's the flip side of not being considered? So when you spend, a certain period of your life not being considered by a loved one, it just doesn't matter how you feel, you feel like you don't matter, which goes back to this beautiful series that we did. I got to go back a couple years ago. I had Shifra Malka on Project Joy Live, and she has a book about mattering. It's called Dare to Matter. And it really is an examination of this internal need that we all have to matter. And then there's a lot of other things to consider with that conversation about, how we might matter to somebody that doesn't know us versus the ones that do we matter to our parents? Do we matter to our children? Do we matter to our spouse? Who is it that we matter to, and the sort of hierarchy of those things as well. And so when you spend a considerable amount of time in your life feeling like somebody does not consider you, somebody that you love and you would think would be considerate of you, and they don't, what happens as a result of that?
I hear it described as disconnected. That's the disappointment. That's all of the negative filters show up about my value. We all describe it differently. That's the thing. We all describe it in our own way. And what if that's not even the case? So if I don't consider your feelings about the subject, and then you get mad at me, then how am I gonna feel? And so and I like that other part of that, because it's being unselfish. But I have to be secure. I have to be I have to be a way as well to negotiate the consideration. Okay, I want to do it this way. I'm taking into consideration of how you feel about that. And then I got to go, if I'm the final say so, then I also then got to make sure that I'm going through the process within myself and say, okay, can I negotiate what their considerations are to make it fair? Or am I going to be stuck and say, okay, thanks for letting me know that's how you feel, but we're going to go do this.
Right.
And now
this is the question that I had before it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I think a lot of times we use this word considerate, and what we're looking for is not for a person to consider us. We're looking for them to do what we want them to do.
Ooh, thank you.
So we might go, okay, I feel like having tacos tonight, right? And a person goes, I'm going to take you to pizza. Okay. And we go, well, you're not being very considerate. Meanwhile, they're offering to take you to dinner. They're paying for your dinner. They asked you, period. And so some might go, well, that was being considerate to take you somewhere. But you just wanted pizza. So it's like, are you saying that the person is not being considerate, or are you just mad because they're not doing what you wanted them to do?
That's the unselfishness. There's a level of, how do I get to be unselfish? And that's a long road. That's layers of giving up my, like you said, I might have to give up. Am I going to give up some of my morals and principles to do that? To be right? And so, or am I going to do it because, or am I not going to do it because I don't want to do that either? So now we're both stuck at no one's being considerate about. So then, as a man, am I supposed to diminish myself for the woman and be like, okay, we're gonna do what you want to do, but you have an attitude. It's like, where does it balance? Where does that balance in a relationship? And so the more I sit with this today, it's like, it's no wonder relationships are hard, or however you describe a relationship, difficult, challenging. My relationship was dangerous. That's a dangerous space to be in, when you have to take on somebody else's consideration, or consider them when you want to do something that you want to do, regardless of what they feel like at the end of the day. Right. That's a tough place to be.
The other person that I asked, do you consider me to be a considerate person? They said, I think this, I don't know how many zeros are here, but I think it says 10 billion%.
Oh,
it's a lot. And I said, thank you. We were talking about it live right now. Love you. And he said, love you too. And he said, hi fans. That's from Kevin Kiley, everybody.
All right, Kev.
I know some of y'all love some Kevin Kiley.
All them zeros, Kev. All right, man.
But it's a good conversation to be had, because I think as we talk about this in terms of relationships, I think that I would maybe want to talk about more about consideration being in terms of, is the relationship considerate? As opposed to, like, yes, it takes consideration from both individuals, but is it a considerate relationship? Because to me, that means that I'm considering you, you're considering me, and we are finding a way to do that dance and meet in the middle somewhere, which means sometimes we go for pizza and sometimes we go for tacos.
Right. Negotiate.
Yeah.
But I think the buzzword that I hear in the world, especially on social media these days, when you're in relationship talks, is submission. Right? Because in order for me to submit, I got to take things into consideration before I let you. And what about that feeling of losing control of myself? I might feel a loss of control if I consider what you consider.
Right. And that's why a lot of people don't like to have this conversation, because it goes back to that eggshells comment, right? Like
Right.
why should I have to walk on eggshells? And it's not really it I mean, for me it's not really about that. I mean, I understand that people could feel that way, especially when, like we talked about, they might have been in a relationship where they were not considered at all.
Right.
And the flip side to that is you going, well, I'm just not going to do anything anybody wants ever again because nobody
Right.
ever considers me. And it becomes
Right.
this tit for tat sort of, that scorekeeping
Right.
sort of situation that we had before. But I think where I'm at with it in my relationships is just considering what I know to be true about the person and talking about those things. And if we've talked about those things and I go, I think it's considerate when if I know what a person likes to eat and they're coming over and I make that thing that they like I just like it's considering that I know something about them and I am choosing to filter what I'm doing through what I know to be true about them,
So
considering how they might feel.
So it's considerate for a person to cook dinner and make a separate meal for you and for them because they're being considerate of what you eat.
Sure.
versus
Yeah,
what they eat.
absolutely.
That's-
Absolutely. But see, then I want to bring up this because this is really important too. The importance of having those conversations with your loved ones, because I'll give you, this is the best example I can think of. Our whole family is vegan. Okay. That gets us uninvited to a lot of things. Okay. Gets us uninvited straight up. Because a lot of times people don't know what that even means. They don't know what to make. It's too like, they just don't want to be bothered. They think that we're coming for the food. I have had to have very real conversations with people and say, I want to spend time with you. I want to spend time with you. I will bring my own food. I will eat before I come over. I don't care about the damn menu. And I'm also not going to, I am not the vegan. There are others out there, can't speak for all of us, but there are the vegans that are going to have a fit about what other people are eating. That's not, in my principles, that's not my business. This is my conviction. So I'm not going to come and I don't think that, I think that it would be considerate of a person to not like chew rare steak in front of my face, knowing that I'm vegan, but at the end of the day, it goes back to what we said. I have to do with what I know to be able to sleep at night. And for me, I'm not going to sit there and have a fit about somebody, even though I might go, they could have like at least closed their mouth. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel very considerate. Or maybe let's do an activity that doesn't involve food.
Right.
You know what I mean? So those are the considerations for me that I think when I think about being considerate, it's little things like that are important.
I think I got a little bit of chills from your conversation, because at the end of the day, it's really just wanting to spend time with the person.
Yep.
Take away all that other stuff. How do we argue about spending time with each other?
I
How
don't
do
know.
we do that?
I don't know. I mean, there's a serious side to this as well that I think is really important. Going back to the advocacy work that I'm doing right now, and I'm sure that that's been, maybe there's been some of this in your work that you've done for sickle cell and veterans and things like that also. Sometimes people come and they're representing the work that you're trying to do. They might be a person that's a veteran or has sickle cell trait, or in my case is a homeschooling family or is a talk show host or whatever. They're representing what you're advocating for. And in that, they might be behaving a certain way where they are not thinking about how their actions might reflect on the entirety of the group.
Right.
They
sure.
might. So, for example, we had a hearing recently, and there was one gentleman who, it was on our side, but was acting belligerently in the room, and that reflects poorly on everybody. For me, in this conversation, that's a lack of consideration.
Mm.
Because in those situations, we really do have to have that pause and go, is this going to hurt
Right.
the very important work that we're trying to do
the
here?
bigger picture. Of the
Right. And
conversation.
we've seen this in other conversations we've had, Farron, like race and culture and how people are representing each other.
Yeah.
Is he like it's layered?
I like how you said at the end of the day, if we could get past all that, realizing that at the end of the day, we just really want to spend time with the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And somehow.
Yeah. Joanne said, my aunt told me something really powerful about relationships. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? This helps change the lens I look through when I'm choosing to be considerate while still valuing my own thoughts and beliefs. I love that, Joanne. And some of it too, I think in that same conversation is about compartmentalizing. I have a family member who is really, really outspoken about politics. Really. Guess what we don't talk about when we get together? Because I love them. They're in my family. I love them. I appreciate them. I value them as a human being. But I just, they're so blinders on one direction that there's an unwillingness. I'm considering that they are unwilling to have a conversation that doesn't involve complete belligerence about the topic. And so I'm going to say, I love you. And we're going to talk about whatever, not that though.
Could it be in this consideration or considering these other conversations with the people that they also want to be heard?
Yeah. And I think in the situation I'm talking about, they're heard all the time, and I don't need to be another person hearing that. I'm good. I'm good to not. And so, and I do think people can find themselves in situations where they feel unheard, or they feel so angry. Going back to my thing about last summer, they feel so upset by what's going on that all that they can come out of them is kind of this
passion and the upset and the frustration.
Yeah.
And all that is bleh.
Yeah. So then you get to ask yourself, is this a conversation that you want to be part of? And if it's not, then you talk about something else and go back to what Joanne was saying. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I have no need to be right in situations like that. If it does go there, I'm good.
I mean, I pretty much learned what kind of in my own language, as what she said is, I can be right, but it doesn't mean I'm right. And when you're being right in a situation, there's no love present in that, because I'm right and you're wrong, or I'm right in this, or I agree, disagree. In the space of that experience, there's no love present. And so you can be right, but do you have to be right all the time? Like,
right.
It's
right.
Just because you have the right doesn't mean it's right. Just because you could be right doesn't make it right that you're right. And that's considering other people's experience or whatever their feelings or emotions are about that topic. And I would have to consider giving up my right to be right to experience some level of peace or kindness or nice or love to be present. And so I believe it's difficult to give that right up.
Yeah.
Especially if I have an opinion about it. Especially if I have a strong opinion about it, or a fear of looking bad, or a fear of disappointing not you but myself. Because I deal with that a lot. Like, well, I don't really want to go over there, but I go because I don't want them to be disappointed in me.
It's something to think about as if you are considering, if you are taking into consideration what somebody else is saying. It is important to remember that the only person that can choose to change your mind is you.
We
The
say
only
that so
person,
easily.
the only person, clip this, the only person that can choose to change your mind is you. It does not, you don't change your mind because somebody simply says something out loud. That's not how that works. You would have to adopt what they're saying. Think about what has to happen here. You would have to adopt what they're saying as your own in order for that to impact what your thought is. So what are we really scared of? What are we really scared? Are you scared that they're going to say something that's going to make you feel like you have to change what your ideals are or principles or thoughts or whatever? Is that what it is?
Maybe I'm not secure in my principles. Maybe I don't know what those even are.
I think that's a big piece.
Maybe they're more opinions than principles. They're more my feelings and emotions than principles. Yeah. Like I said, I own my emotional state the first 40 years of my life because that's how I operated. Emotions.
Right.
And they were not good. Those emotions were doing their best to be protected. And so I would never consider somebody else's because I'm selfish. And if I'm selfish, there's no pause.
And then but you even in that, like, okay, so I know we only have a few minutes left here, but we were talking before the show and I was like, this could be the last episode we ever do. And do you know why I said that though?
Why?
Because you said I'm not a considerate person. And I want you to understand how even the choice that we had this whole conversation about labels, right? Last year, that was beautiful. And the labels that we give ourselves impact how others perceive us. So if someone says to me, here, okay, so two things happen. I'm processing this right along real time with you guys here. So two things happened to me when you said that, I'm realizing. The first thing is that I have a thought about myself. You're telling me you're not a considerate person. And it is important to me to be surrounded by people who are considerate people. So first thing I'm doing is I'm questioning myself. I'm going, I don't feel like he's inconsiderate. Like, I don't understand where that's even coming from. Is he inconsiderate? Have I allowed this person in? These are the internal thoughts that I have, right? And then the second thing is just this feeling like of wanting to protect myself. Are you really sitting back before the show going, I don't give a crap what she says on the show today? Because to me, that's what being inconsiderate looks like.
Yeah.
Is going like, I don't care what she thinks. And so I say all that to say, I think that your self-label is complete BS. Because I do think you're a consideration and I think a considerate person. And I think that it would be impossible to have a show like we have called Beyond 2D, where we explore these topics and to not be a considerate person.
Yeah. So the self-talk for sure. I appreciate that. The label, the opinion of myself first is what that is. Yeah.
And even on the flip side of that, if we announce ourselves to be a considerate person, if we say, I'm a considerate person, and then we do something, we go down that rabbit hole, we've done something that somebody else doesn't like, and their first thought is, well, she lied. She said she was a considerate person, and that's not very considerate, you know? And so it goes back to that labels conversation that we had. When you're self-labeling yourself as being any of these things that we've talked about in this series so far, loyal, respectful, considerate. When you label yourself as that or the opposite of, how is that being received to people? Think about it. How about we just be?
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. That's why I don't like the labels. That's why I don't like the titles, because
Yeah.
But you're right. You. I give you that because our self-talk is. I'm my biggest hater. My own mind is my biggest hater, and I can easily point out where I'm not considerate, and it doesn't feel bad either. It's selfish.
See, I don't like being labeled as that either.
I
don't
know,
I don't
right?
like you labeling yourself as that either, because I think that selfish doesn't mean that there aren't moments that we don't choose ourselves. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
just all the labels feel yucky. Let's stop it. I don't like it. It's uncomfortable.
So the self-labeling is definitely my downfall.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because people don't perceive me as any of that. That's what my daughter. I don't think you're inconsiderate. So it's like,
yeah.
Okay, then I must be considerate if she doesn't think I'm inconsiderate.
Well, and I had a moment this week with the label of smart. Sure enough, just in case any of you guys don't, this does not have anything to do with, it's something for you to consider, that's for sure. As soon as you label yourself as anything, God gives you moments to check yourself, to check your label, because it's interesting. It's just, I'll just say that it's an interesting exploration to call yourself smart, and then and to finally feel it, to feel like I don't know if I've ever really considered myself to be a smart person, and to finally lean into that and be like, you know what, I am pretty smart. I know some things. I feel like I process some things. I feel like I've practiced and I do all this. And then what happens is you end up in a room full of people that take your idea and flush it right down the toilet, so you feel like the dumbest person on planet Earth. And it is a painful place to be in. So just be careful. Be careful with labels, and be careful with calling yourself considerate or inconsiderate, because number one, you don't know how that's landing. And number two, we are layered, multifaceted human beings. And even if we think we're the most considerate person on the planet, somebody else is processing that differently.
And that's why I guess I miss that in myself sometimes, and I appreciate you pointing that out, because for me, a lot of times if people say I'm considerate, I'm loyal, I don't know. Who are you trying to convince? Are you trying to convince me, or are you trying to convince yourself? And see, and so out of the heart sometimes come the issues of life, and so people who want loyalty really may not know what that is for themselves, or they're so guarded with the loyalty that you gotta show me yours first. You gotta show me your considerations first before I show you mine. So that I can protect myself, and it's like, it's But I appreciate that. You opened up another window of I still got some more labels to peel off.
All the labels need to go bye-bye, everybody. Coming up next episode. By the way, it's going to be next week, everybody, because we were off a week because Jessica was off gallivanting in Hartford.
Doing some good work. Come on.
I was doing that. But we're going to be back next week. I know it's off schedule to finish up this topic. And next week, we're going to be talking about comparison in relationships and putting people on a pedestal. Can our relationships stand a chance when we're comparing them to other relationships from the past and what we hope to see in the future? It's going to be great.
For who? For you.
This has been a tough few topics here. So we're going to talk about that next week. And then our May into June series is going to be about the peacemaker. So I'm looking forward to that, because we're going to need some peace after this topic.
After this series.
What does it mean to be a peacemaker? Start marinating on that. May into June. That's what we're going to focus on then. But we're going to consider it. We'll see you guys next week.
To be a peacemaker.
Yes.
I don't like this.
Next week, we're going to see you guys. It is not an April Fool's joke, even though it is going to be April Fool's Day.
Oh, that's
not
right.
an April Fool's joke. And we'll see you at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific.
Be on the west side.
On the West Coast. And we'll be back. That's going to be April 1st, 2026, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific Time for our conclusion, our epic finale of expectations in relationships. Comparison. Are you putting people on a pedestal?
I appreciate your point of view. I really do. I appreciate this show because
Same.
I don't think I would have had a conversation about being considerate anywhere else.
There's a
Or with
safe
anyone
space
else.
until one of us threatens to never come back. All right, my friend. I'm
right.
Jessica Dugas. This is Farron Dozier, and we're going to see you guys next week on an all-new episode of Beyond 2D. Thanks for being here today, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace out.